the gospel community has been shaken by breaking news. Amid circulating allegations regarding his health, one of the most respected voices in gospel music, Bishop Marvin Winans, is coming out. Fans and followers have been scared, anxious, and looking for answers as a result of the whispers that have been going about for weeks. Many have been shocked by his public revelations, which have illuminated a story that nobody anticipated, and his next statement will make you doubt everything you believed to be true. As a renowned singer, pastor, and spiritual leader whose impact extends well beyond the stage, Bishop Marvin Winans has long been a cornerstone of the gospel community. However, his name has been the subject of conjecture and worry lately. Fans are curious about what's actually happening behind the scenes as rumors regarding his health have been circulating. We are delving deeply into the subject today, revealing the reality behind the rumors, the intimate information that hasn't been made public, and the sincere admissions made by Bishop Marvin Winans himself. This is a narrative that transcends headlines and social media chit-chat, ranging from personal observations to words that startled the gospel community. What he disclosed about his illness, how it has affected his ministry, and the surprising ways he is handling the difficulties will astound you. It becomes unbelievable at this point. By the end of this film, you'll see why this discussion is crucial for the gospel community as a whole, not just for fans. Rumors have been going around the gospel community for weeks. There are rumors that one of the most well-known leaders in gospel music and ministry, Bishop Marvin Winans, is having health issues. Supporters started to notice small adjustments, postponed engagements, brief social media posts, and instances at public gatherings where he seemed more reserved or thoughtful than normal. These little, first indiscernible observations sparked conjecture and anxiety among his supporters. Bishop Winans has always carried a great deal of responsibility as a pastor, a performer, and a mentor, according to those close to him. He has devoted his life to helping others, frequently at the price of his own health. Many found it shocking and extremely worrisome that he might be quietly battling his health after spending decades offering strength to innumerable individuals. Before any public recognition, insiders disclosed that discussions had been going on behind the scenes for weeks. According to reports, he was persuaded by his family, close friends, and co-workers to confront the accusations, reassure his followers, and disclose the truth, whatever it may be. Making the choice wasn't simple. Bishop Winans has always kept personal affairs secret, and showing his frailty to the public contradicts the strong, devout persona he has built over the years. In the meantime, rumors were circulating, becoming louder by the day. Fans discussed what might be causing the rumors, analyzed social media posts, and emphasized headlines. Every postponed event, every missed interview, and every small shift in his behavior were all closely examined. The tension in the gospel community peaked when the story started to take on a life of its own. Then the moment that made all the difference arrived. In order to confront the circulating rumors, Bishop Marvin Winans made the decision to speak in public. More than a declaration, his words were delivered with cool authority and genuine sincerity. They were a revelation, a message that his followers found both surprising and consoling. He disclosed more than just his health, though. The story was full of faith, resiliency, and an unexpected vulnerability lesson. What came next? Bishop Winans' presentation of the truth not only addressed inquiries, but also shook the gospel community, dispelling myths and igniting discussions that are still going strong today. The instant when the rumors were ultimately addressed by Bishop Marvin Winans, the entire gospel community held its breath. Recognized for his resolute faith, powerful resonant voice, and imposing presence on stage, it was rare to hear him talk openly about his personal health. His choice of words was significant not only as a public figure, but also as a guy displaying weakness in an environment where strength is frequently required. Bishop Winans recognized the worries that were being expressed about his health in a touching message. He wasn't afraid of the truth. Rather, he approached it with candor, empathy, and a strong feeling of duty to his supporters. Although there have been difficulties, he assured supporters that he is still dedicated to his ministry and to those who have stood with him for many years. His tone was one of strength and humility, demonstrating that being vulnerable does not detract from leadership, but rather can strengthen it. Behind the scenes, close assistants and family members shared the personal hardships that had brought them to this point. Insiders stressed that this revelation was not a cry for sympathy, but rather a message of transparency and faith, a way to humanize the figure many idolize and to demonstrate that even those who appear unshakable can overcome the relentless demands of ministry and manage health routines, confront obstacles. The effect was instantaneous. Reactions on social media ranged from shock to sincere support. While some fans pondered on their own experiences with vulnerability and found inspiration in Bishop Winans' bravery, others showed empathy by sending notes of support and prayers. All of the posts and discussion threads that went viral had one thing in common: the icon's humanity. Bishop Winans' remark provided clarification, but it also brought up more serious issues. What specifically had caused the health issues? For what length of time has he been handling these matters in private? What does this signify for his future as a public figure and a gospel leader? The entire narrative, according to insiders, was much more complex, encompassing emotional struggles, times of selflessness, and the battles waged in silence, behind the scenes that are hardly seen by fans. An unexpected twist then surfaced, just when it appeared that the discovery had addressed the most of the questions. More than only health issues were exposed by Bishop Winans' candor. It brought to light the psychological costs of leadership, the demands of public expectations, and the fortitude needed to carry on serving a community while overcoming personal hardships. The events that followed would provide more light on the man behind the ministry, leaving admirers deeply touched as well as worried. We must look behind the news reports and public appearances in order to fully comprehend the significance of Bishop Marvin Winans' revelation. Bishop Winans has been a pillar of the gospel community for many years, as a pastor, counselor, and spiritual advisor in addition to being a musician. His life has been filled with unending service, community support, ministry, and entertainment. However, such commitment comes with a great deal of pressure, a cost that is frequently hidden. According to insiders, Bishop Winans had been discreetly coping with emotional and physical difficulties for months. Behind the dazzling lights and the cheers, he had hard days full with obligations that demanded constant attention and effort. It was difficult for him to balance his ministry with his personal responsibilities, family duties, and the demands of a loyal fan base. There were times when he had to work hard to keep the strength and poise for which he is respected, as well as times of tiredness that people never saw. Although they were never completely revealed, health issues played a role in the narrative. Sources allude to regular examinations and preventative actions, but they also highlight the psychological strain of being in charge of a society that depends on you for direction. These demands, along with the scrutiny of public life, produced an atmosphere that made even little difficulties seem more significant. He reportedly received advice from friends and relatives to calm down, take care of himself, and focus on his well-being. However, the need to serve frequently took precedence over personal leisure. At the same time, there was additional stress due to the rumors that started to circulate. Even personal issues became public topics due to social media rumors, inquiries from fans and the media, and his ongoing need to reassure his followers. These rumors were more than just personal for Bishop Winans, who has dedicated his life to inspiring others and building trust. They jeopardized his ministry's reputation and the trust of people who depend on him for direction. But his faith stayed unwavering throughout it all. His loved ones recount times of introspection, prayer, and silent resolve that enabled him to face these difficulties with dignity. Insiders claim it was his tenacity that allowed him to publicly address the rumors at last, transforming what would have been a vulnerable moment into a potent declaration of openness, optimism, and faith. However, it was not the end of the story. The responses from peers, fans, and the larger gospel community created additional layers of complication even after the rumors were addressed. Many provided steadfast support, but others raised questions about what else might be going on behind the scenes, which sparked interest and discussion. And just as it appeared that things were beginning to stabilize, something else unexpected came into play. A reaction from colleagues, the media, and public discussion that spread the word in unexpected ways. The story would shift from a personal struggle to a revelation that made headlines and enthralled the gospel community. The response was swift, strong, and widespread as soon as Bishop Marvin Winans publicly addressed the health-related rumors. Messages of appreciation, prayers, and worry flooded social media sites. His accounts were inundated with sincere messages from fans all across the world, ranging from "We are praying for you, Bishop," to first-hand testimonials of how his ministry and music had changed their lives. Bishop Winans' impact was evidently felt much beyond the stage. Few individuals could really quantify the extent to which he had affected people's hearts. However, the response wasn't only positive. With well-known people, transparency is frequently accompanied with scrutiny. While some pundits speculated on the underlying causes of the health issues, others asked why he had held off on speaking for so long. Unfounded rumors started to circulate more quickly than before, forming a convoluted story that blended controversy, interest, and worry. Every public appearance, interview, and social media post was examined, evaluated, and interpreted, increasing the revelation's emotional impact. Reactions weren't limited to fans. Spiritual leaders, fellow gospel musicians, and colleagues sent encouraging and supportive words. Many stressed the value of resilience, spirituality, and self-care. Others discussed their own personal challenges in comparable leadership roles, but the discussions that arose went beyond basic worry. They turned into conversations about public opinion, mental health, and the difficulties of leading a life dedicated to service. Others were encouraged to freely express their own weaknesses and experiences with physical and mental well-being as a result of Bishop Winans' candor. Media outlets, meanwhile, began covering the story, combining analysis, empathy, and occasionally conjecture. His tenacity and the community's reaction were emphasized in the headlines, which brought a tale that had been quietly developing behind the scenes to an extraordinary level of exposure. In just a few hours, clips of his remarks went viral on several platforms and received millions of views. In an attempt to uncover hidden meanings, reassurances, or clues about what might lie ahead for him and his ministry, devotees scrutinized every word, gesture, and pause. Nevertheless, the most potent effect of all this attention was that viewers and admirers felt a strong bond with Bishop Winans' bravery in speaking the truth. For many, it served as a reminder that vulnerability is a sign of strength rather than weakness, and that even the most admired and seemingly unflappable leaders experience human difficulties. Prayers, encouraging comments, and campaigns of support flooded in from all over the world, demonstrating the depth and breadth of the community he has fostered over decades. Then another unanticipated event occurred. Even among his closest friends and family, Bishop Winans' candor has sparked discussions about leadership, personal health, and the unseen demands of his job, according to insiders. This gave the narrative a new dimension and demonstrated that his disclosure was more than just a moment of candor. It sparked more extensive conversations on faith, accountability, and the human cost of leadership, both online and offline. The events that followed would further develop the story by illuminating the difficulties and optimism that characterize his path. Bishop Marvin Winans' revelation's actual impact started to emerge as the initial wave of emotions subsided. There was more to this story than gossip or health issues. It was a moment that demonstrated faith, vulnerability, and the bravery to come under public scrutiny. Fans, coworkers, and spiritual leaders were all forced to confront the issue head-on and consider what it really means to lead, serve, and go through personal struggles while being watched by the public all the time. The fallout was both transforming and introspective for Bishop Winans himself. Those who knew him spoke of private times of prayer, introspection, and open dialogue with family and caregivers. He faced the difficulties that had stoked the gossip, as well as he held himself to certain standards. These discoveries were not simple. They required him to admit that he could not be protected from the stresses and weaknesses that come with being a leader, even after a lifetime of faith, ministry, and public esteem. The response from the gospel community was quite united. Around the world, fans, clergy, and other artists sent messages of encouragement, prayers, and support. In order to highlight the mutually reinforcing aspect of Bishop Winans' influence, numerous people provided personal accounts of how his ministry, mentoring, and music had affected their lives. What began as worry over gossip turned into a group celebration of fortitude, faith, and openness. It demonstrated the lasting value of a leader's relationship with the people he leads. However, the narrative also provoked more in-depth discussions within the gospel community. Leaders started talking about the significance of taking care of mental health, personal well-being, and the strains of ongoing public expectations. Bishop Winans' choice to be transparent was viewed as a spark, encouraging others to think about how personal hardships might impact public service, and serving as a reminder that showing vulnerability can enhance rather than detract from leadership. There was cultural significance to his revelation even outside the small gospel community. Social media users and fans discussed the lessons in bravery, faith, and tenacity. Commentaries emphasized the value of openness, the strength of optimism, and the fact that even people who are admired for their strength can experience periods of weakness. The truthfulness of Bishop Winans became more than just news. It turned into a teaching moment and a tale of human tenacity that went beyond gossip and conjecture. Lastly, Bishop Winans thought back on the actual journey during the calm times following the publicity. The event strengthened his devotion to his community, his commitment to ministry, and the significance of striking a balance between one's personal well-being and one's public duties. He sent a clear message to his admirers. One can maintain their faith, sense of purpose, and willingness to accept help from others, even in the face of difficulties. Bishop Marvin Winans' response to the rumors ultimately went beyond simply correcting the misinformation. It was about displaying bravery, motivating a group of people, and serving as a reminder that every great leader's legacy is a human being negotiating the challenges of life. His disclosure will be remembered for the integrity, fortitude, and optimism that surfaced in their story more than the rumors themselves.